Welcome to Moonlitwest. It's so wonderful to have you here. Let this be your cozy little corner of the night, where the soft glow of stories wraps you in comfort and peace. Together, we'll leave behind the worries of the day and step into a magical world of soothing tales, perfect for easing into a restful sleep. Tonight, I'm sharing the adventures of Chippy the brown squirrel, a heartfelt story about courage, family love, and the beautiful journey of growing up. That in the tranquil charm of a park just outside New York City. This story begins with a small mishap that unfolds into valuable lessons about life, responsibility, and resilience. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let the sound of this story carry you away to sweet dreams. And before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe to Moonlitwest. Your support means so much. It's what helps us continue bringing you these gentle bedtime tales. Sweet dreams, and let's begin the story. The Adventures of Chippy the Brown Squirrel. In a lush green park on the outskirts of New York City, nestled high in an old oak tree, was the cozy home of the brown squirrel family. Here lived Mom, Dad, and their 3 little ones, Chippy, Nutty, and Pecan. Their days were filled with happiness, gathering food together in preparation for the coming winter. Every morning, as sunlight filtered through the trees, the family scurried around, collecting acorns, chestnuts, and even crumbs of bread left behind by park visitors. Chippy, the youngest and most mischievous of the bunch, was always full of energy. His playful antics often brought laughter, but sometimes they also led to a bit of chaos. One day, while the family was busy gathering food, Chippy spotted a large acorn hanging from a branch near the stream, determined to claim the prize. He leapt onto the branch without a second thought, but the branch snapped under his weight, sending Chippy tumbling, and along with him, the family's hard-earned stash of food into the rushing water below. In an instant, everything they'd worked for was swept away. No one scolded Chippy. Instead, his mom gently placed a paw on his head and said, "It's okay, Chippy. We'll gather more. Just be more careful next time, all right?" Though no harsh words were spoken, Chippy felt a deep pang of guilt. He couldn't shake the memory of his mother's worried eyes and his father's quiet sigh. That night, as the family slept, Chippy lay awake, consumed by thoughts of his mistake and the hardship it might cause during winter. By morning, Chippy had made a decision. Gathering his family together, he spoke up. "Mom, Dad, everyone, I know what I did was wrong, and I've caused so much trouble. I want to make it right. I'll explore farther into the park to find more food. I want to learn how to face challenges and truly understand the effort you all put in every day. The family listened in silence. Finally, his dad nodded with a proud smile. Taking responsibility is the first step to growing up. If this is what you want, we'll support you. But remember, stay safe and come home anytime you need us. His siblings cheered him on, offering advice and encouragement. His mom prepared a small bag with some food to help him start his journey. Before leaving, Chippy hugged her tightly, promising to return stronger and wiser. As the morning sun painted the park in golden hues, Chippy stepped out of the nest, carrying not just a small bag, but also a big heart full of determination. This was the beginning of an adventure that would teach him lessons he'd carry for a lifetime. Part 1. The Encounter with the Owl. Night fell faster than Chippy expected. Darkness blanketed the park, leaving only the faint glow of the moon filtering through the dense leaves above. Chippy felt a twinge of fear, but reminded himself that this was the first challenge on his journey, one he needed to overcome. While searching for a place to rest, Chippy suddenly heard a powerful flapping of wings. Before he could react, a shadowy figure swooped down and enveloped him. It was the great owl, its piercing eyes fixed on Chippy as its sharp talons held him firmly. "Well, looks like I've found myself a fine dinner," the owl said, its deep voice resonating as it spread its proud wings, terrified, but determined to stay calm. Chippy pleaded, "Please don't eat me. I'm not just an ordinary squirrel. I'm on a journey to make things right with my family. I made a mistake and want to fix it." The owl's sharp eyes narrowed in curiosity as it studied the trembling squirrel. "Redemption," the owl scoffed. "In the wild, there's no room for such notions. Survival depends on strength and swiftness, not kindness." Despite the owl's harsh words, Chippy didn't give up. He told the owl about his family, the accident that lost their food supply, and his decision to leave the nest to gather more food and grow stronger. With a quivering voice, Chippy added, "I want to be a squirrel who truly appreciates everything my parents have done for me. They've always loved and sacrificed for me. I don't want them to suffer because of my recklessness." Chippy's sincerity seemed to strike a chord with the owl. Though a seasoned predator, the owl had once known the warmth of a family before living alone. Beneath its cold exterior, the owl couldn't ignore the small squirrel's big heart and determination. "I didn't expect to find such a brave and honest heart in a little squirrel," the owl said, gently placing Chippy on a nearby branch. Chippy stared in disbelief, unsure how he'd been spared. When he looked into the owl's glowing eyes, the icy sharpness was gone, replaced by a glimmer of understanding. "Your path will be dangerous," the owl continued, but because of your sincerity and spirit, I'll give you this." The owl plucked a sleek black feather from its wing and held it out with its talons. "This feather carries my essence. If you find yourself in danger, place it under the moonlight, and I will come to your aid." Holding the feather tightly, Chippy felt a wave of warmth and hope. "Thank you, Great Owl. I won't forget your kindness." The owl smiled faintly, spreading its magnificent wings. "Don't waste this second chance, little squirrel. Continue your journey and show the world that a big heart can surpass even the mightiest wings." Under the moon's soft glow, the owl disappeared into the night sky, leaving Chippy more confident and deeply grateful as he pressed on with his journey. Part 2: The Meadow and the Field Mice. After bidding farewell to the owl, Chippy emerged from the dense forest and stepped into a vast, sunlit meadow. The scene was unlike anything he'd ever known. Gone were the towering trees and rustling leaves of home. In their place stretched an open expanse of grass, swaying in the breeze, leaving Chippy feeling both exhilarated and exposed. Taking a deep breath, Chippy whispered to himself, "This is my chance to prove I can handle this. I can do it." He held the owl's feather close, a quiet reminder of the support he carried with him. As Chippy ventured further, he stumbled upon a group of field mice, busily digging small holes across the meadow. They froze when they saw him, their tiny eyes watching with suspicion. Well, a large mouse said, who appeared to be their leader, his tone stern and commanding. "A squirrel has wandered into our territory." Chippy hesitated, stepping back slightly, but summoning his courage, he shared his story, explaining his journey and the reason he had come so far. The leader listened, then smirked slyly. "A journey of redemption, huh? Interesting. But if you want to cross our meadow, you'll have to prove your worth. Join our game, a race to gather food. If you win, you can pass. If not..." The other mice exchanged knowing glances, their eyes glinting with mischief. Chippy realized he had no choice but to agree. The race and the trap. The mice led Chippy to a patch of land, dotted with small holes. The rules were simple. Whoever gathered the most nuts within 10 minutes would win. At the signal, they all dashed into action. Chippy worked quickly, finding a few nuts hidden in the grass. But he soon noticed something strange. The holes seemed to draw him farther and farther away from the center of the meadow. Finally, he stopped, realizing he was standing at the edge of a large, deep pit. Behind him, the mice were closing in, their cunning smiles revealing their true intentions. "You're quite naive," the leader sneered. "This wasn't a game. It was a trap. You don't belong here." and we don't want you in our meadow." Chippy's heart pounded as he looked around for a way out. The mice advanced, their tiny forms brimming with menace. Suddenly, Chippy remembered the owl's feather. Pulling it out, he placed it under the dim light of the rising moon. Within moments, the sound of powerful wings broke the stillness. A shadow swooped down from above. The great owl had returned. "I told you this journey wouldn't be easy," the owl said as it descended, its voice calm yet commanding. "But this time, I'll help." The mice scattered in panic, their confidence evaporating as the owl's majestic form loomed over them. Within seconds, they disappeared into the grass, leaving Chippy trembling, but safe. The owl looked at Chippy with a mix of sternness and empathy. "You must remember," it said, "not everyone deserves your trust. The world can be deceptive. Learn to watch closely and be cautious." Chippy nodded, his gratitude overwhelming. As the owl took flight once more, Chippy whispered, "I'll do better. I'll grow wiser, not just braver." And with that, he continued his journey, the feather in his grasp and a newfound resolve in his heart. Part 3. Facing the whirling winds. As Chippy made his way across the vast meadow, the winds began to pick up. At first they were gentle breezes, rustling the grass, but soon they turned fierce, carrying dust and dry leaves swirling into the air. Chippy paused, squinting into the distance. Ahead of him stretched an open expanse, with no trees for shelter. The wind howled, so strong it pushed him back a few steps. "If I can just make it past this stretch, I'll reach the forest," Chippy thought, trying to steady his nerves. Fatigue and struggles, determined, Chippy started forward, his tiny paws sinking into the loose gravel beneath him. The wind grew stronger with each step, forcing him to lean into it to maintain his balance. His small bag of food swung wildly on his back, threatening to slip away. "I can't lose this," Chippy muttered, clutching the strap tightly. Every step became harder. The wind stung his face, making his eyes water, and the cold seeped into his trembling legs. Still, Chippy pressed on, his thoughts fixed on his family and the promise he had made to them. "You'll never truly understand the value of what you have until you earn it yourself." His mother's voice echoed in his mind, offering a glimmer of strength. Suddenly, a powerful gust roared through the meadow, ripping the bag from Chippy's grasp. He lunged for it, but the wind carried it higher, scattering the acorns and nuts across the ground. "No!" Chippy cried, watching helplessly as his hard-earned supplies disappeared into the distance. He collapsed onto the ground, overwhelmed by exhaustion and despair. "Have all my efforts been for nothing?" he whispered, tears stinging his eyes. A spark of resilience. In that moment of defeat, Chippy remembered the owl's feather. Pulling it from his pouch, he felt its soft, comforting texture. The memory of the owl's words stirred in his heart. Whenever you need help, remember that you have more strength than you realize. Taking a deep breath, Chippy surveyed his surroundings. Scattered among the grasses and shrubs were some of the nuts that had fallen. I still have a chance, Chippy said to himself. I just have to try harder. Lowering himself to the ground to avoid the worst of the wind, Chippy began crawling from one patch of grass to another, carefully retrieving each nut he could find. The wind continued to howl, but he refused to stop. His tiny paws, numb with cold, worked steadily, picking up each precious piece of food. At one point, he stumbled and tumbled down a small slope, his knees scraping against sharp stones. For a moment he lay still, tears welling up again from the pain and weariness. But then, he clenched his fists, wiped his eyes, and pushed himself up. One step at a time, he whispered. Just one step at a time. A sweet reward. When the winds finally subsided, Chippy had managed to recover about half of the nuts he'd lost. He sat on a large rock, breathing heavily, his tiny body aching, but his heart swelling with pride. Reaching into his bag, he pulled out the largest acorn. With his small, calloused paws, he wiped away the dirt and took a careful bite. The sweet, nutty flavor filled his senses, warming him from the inside out. It's never tasted this good before, Chippy thought with a smile, savoring every bite. For the first time, he truly understood the value of what he had worked so hard to regain. This was more than just food. It was proof of his perseverance, his willpower, and his ability to rise above hardship. A peaceful night. After his meal, Chippy's eyelids grew heavy. Nearby, he found a large hollow beneath a rocky overhang, a perfect spot to rest. Curling up with his bag, tucked safely beside him, he closed his eyes. Outside, the wind still murmured softly, but inside the hollow, Chippy felt warm and secure. Tomorrow, I'll keep going, he thought as he drifted off. In his dreams, he saw himself running joyfully under the sun, his family by his side, their laughter echoing beneath the shade of a mighty oak tree. On the morning sun, when the first rays of sunlight crept into the hollow, Chippy stirred awake. His legs were still sore, but his spirit felt renewed. He checked his bag, tightened the straps, and stood up, ready to face the day. A new day, a new challenge, Chippy said aloud, determination shining in his eyes. With a steady heart, he began walking toward the distant forest, where new adventures and new lessons awaited him. Part 4. The Temptation of the Black Squirrels. As Chippy ventured deeper into the sparse forest, he stumbled upon a group of unfamiliar squirrels. They were the Black Squirrel Gang, larger squirrels with sleek, glossy fur and sharp, calculating eyes. They gathered beneath a towering tree, clutching plump, round acorns in their paws. With his small bag slung over his shoulder, Chippy couldn't help but feel both curious and cautious. One of the squirrels, tall and imposing, clearly the leader, approached him. Well, the leader greeted in a strangely friendly tone. You look tired and worn out. Don't tell me you're wandering alone, searching for food. Chippy nodded, deciding honesty was best. I'm gathering food for my family. Winter is coming soon. The black squirrel smirked, his eyes glinting with cunning. Well then, you've come to the right place. We have plenty of food here. Join us and you'll never have to struggle again. Chippy glanced at the large acorns held by the gang. For a moment, the thought of having an easy supply of food was tempting. But then, images of his family flashed in his mind. His mother carefully gathering tiny acorns. His father's steady words about the value of hard work and the love that bound them together. No, thank you, Chippy replied firmly. I'll gather food on my own. I can't take back anything I didn't earn myself. Come family and the owl to the rescue. The Black Squirrel Gang didn't take kindly to rejection. Their leader frowned and gestured to the others, who began to surround Chippy. You think you can just walk away? The leader growled. Leave that bag, and we might let you go. Chippy's heart raced as he clutched his bag tightly and backed away. Just as the gang began to close in, a familiar voice called out from a distance. Chippy, we're here. Chippy turned to see his parents and siblings rushing toward him. His father led the way with a determined look, while his mother carried a sturdy branch, ready to defend her son. Above them, the powerful sound of wings echoed through the trees. The great owl swooped down, its massive form casting a shadow over the gang. Chippy's family stood protectively in front of him, while the owl spread its majestic wings and let out a commanding screech. The black squirrels, realizing they were outmatched, scattered into the forest, disappearing without a fight. A family reunion and a bigger plan. Chippy looked at his family and the owl, his eyes brimming with emotion. You were following me all along? His mother smiled, gently ruffling the fur on his head. We've always trusted you, Chippy, but family's always there when you need them. The owl tilted its head, its deep voice resonating. You've done well, little squirrel. Standing firm in your values, even in the face of temptation, is a victory greater than any challenge. Chippy's heart swelled with warmth. Exhausted but proud, he smiled through his fatigue. "But we still don't have enough food for winter," he said, his voice tinged with worry. His father placed a reassuring paw on his shoulder and smiled. "Don't worry, son. We know a place where we can find plenty." A natural treasure trove. Chippy's father led the family and the owl to a hidden part of the forest that Chippy had never seen before. Here, towering oak trees were laden with ripe acorns, their fruits carpeting the ground in abundance. "This is a special place," the owl explained. "Few creatures know about it. Those who do take only what they need, ensuring there's always enough for everyone." The family worked together, gathering the best acorns and filling their bags. For the first time, Chippy felt the warmth and joy of working alongside his family, each of them contributing to their shared goal. The end of part 4. As the sun set, the family's bags were full to the brim. They rested beneath a grand oak tree, the day's efforts filling them with pride and gratitude. Chippy held a large acorn in his paws, gazing at his parents and the owl. His heart swelled with pride and thankfulness. This journey wasn't just about making amends, Chippy said, his voice thick with emotion. It taught me the value of family and the power of unity. His mother wrapped him in a gentle embrace, her eyes glistening with warmth. "You've grown so much, Chippy. We're so proud of you." Part 5. A loving return. After days of effort, Chippy and his family finally returned to their cozy nest in the old oak tree, where their familiar home awaited. The golden light of sunset filtered through the leaves, welcoming them back. Chippy's legs ached with exhaustion, but his heart brimmed with joy. His bag was full of treasures, acorns, chestnuts, and even a few fragrant pine cones. "We did it," Chippy whispered, his eyes sparkling with pride. A winter of warmth. As winter's chill set in, the family gathered in their nest, sharing stories of their adventures. Chippy looked around at his parents, siblings, and the comforting glow of their home. In that moment, he felt a warmth that no winter frost could touch. All of this, it was for my family, Chippy thought, a contented smile spreading across his face. Outside, snow began to fall, blanketing the park in white. But inside their little nest, the warmth of love and togetherness warded off the cold, ensuring their winter was a season of comfort and joy. On lessons learned, Chippy's journey was more than a quest for food. It was a path of growth and discovery. He learned 1. The value of hard work and perseverance 2. The power of family and unity. 3. The importance of standing firm in one's values. 4. The strength of love and mutual support. And so, the story ends with Chippy and his family nestled together, their home filled with love, warmth, and plenty of food for the season ahead. Under the glow of a gentle moon, their laughter and stories carried through the night, reminding us all that the greatest treasures are the ones we share with those we love. Sweet dreams, and thank you for joining us on Chippy's journey. May your nights be filled with peace and your dreams as warm as this little squirrel's story. Good night, and until next time on Moonlitwest.